Hey there, today we're gonna try something new. I'm gonna test a recipe that's been in my head for about a year and we're gonna see if it works. First of all, welcome back to my channel. If you've been a long-time watcher or if you're a friend of mine, you've noticed that I've gone off the air for about 6 months. I had a very busy summer. We went camping and just enjoyed our time. And I got a new job and I've just been trying to figure out how to balance things out. So today I'm back with a new video and I'm not going to promise weekly videos, but at the beginning of the year, I'm going to try to get back on a good schedule for at least a couple of videos a month. This is a little bit of a different video because I'm going to test a recipe. I don't know if it's going to work, and I have a couple of ideas on what to test. So let's get going. So last year, about this time, I had this idea to make a crab Rangoon dip. I love crab Rangoon. It's one of my favorite treats when we get Chinese delivery. And I realize it's not a traditional Chinese dish, but it is super good. Crab and cream cheese and those crispy wontons. But I thought, well, maybe you could make it a little bit easier at home by making it into a dip. And that's what we're gonna try today. So I did try this last year and I didn't love it. There were a couple things I didn't like about it. I kind of put it on the back burner. So we're gonna take our learnings from last year, try a few different things and see what we come up with. So first of all, there is a lot of cream cheese and crab Rangoon dip, and that is where we're gonna start. We're gonna get this cream cheese into a bowl and start kind of mixing it together to soften it. I've had this out on the counter for about an hour, but it'll probably take a little bit of elbow grease to get it going, or a lot of elbow grease. I'm actually gonna pop this in the microwave for about 15 seconds and see if I can loosen it up to make it easier to mix. All right, so 15 seconds in the microwave really helped loosen this up and make it really easy to mix. Now, the couple of variants that I want to test are going to use the same base of this dip. So we're going to go ahead and season this whole base up and then kind of split it up into a couple of different variants. So the first thing I'm going to add in is a little Monterey Jack cheese. Now this wouldn't be probably found in an actual crab Rangoon, but when I tested this recipe last year, the one time I tried to make it and didn't really love it, what I found was this cream cheese gets a little too soft and runny, I guess is the right word, and you don't get kind of that nice cheese pull feel that you want in a good dip. So I'm gonna add a little bit of this Monterey Jack cheese to kind of give it a little bit more body so it's not so runny. So I have a scale here to help me with my measuring, and I think I'm gonna try to do, there's 8 ounces of cream cheese in this, and I think I'm going to have that in the Monterey Jack, so do about 4 ounces. So we'll see how close I can get. By eyeballing it. All right, let's see how many ounces this is. So about 3 ounces, so just a little bit more. So we'll mix this up together. And the next item we're gonna add are scallions. I find that the best crab Rangoons always have green onions. And I like a lot of green onions. So we're gonna do 1 whole big green onion for this. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this pretty fine. So that means I'm gonna basically quarter it. Well, let me take these greens off. They're a little bit harder to quarter. And then cut it into very small, kind of like mince, because I think that the more you mince it, the more sort of flavor you're gonna get across the entire dip. This will allow a really good distribution of this green onion flavor. All right, those go in. You can kind of see how messy I am when I'm actually like, this is like clean and neat for me, but it's getting kind of messy here. So we're gonna mix that in nicely and just distribute everything really well. All right. The next thing that we're gonna add is I'm gonna add a little bit of fish sauce. Now I know this is definitely not traditional, but fish sauce adds a lot of extra umami, and since we're going with something that's seafoody anyway, it seemed like a good addition. I was gonna do soy sauce, and then I thought, nah, let's get the fish sauce off. And I'm gonna do a 1/4 teaspoon. Let's start there. I might, for me, use more, but fish sauce is pretty strong stuff, so. All right. And one thing that I forgot to get out of my spice cabinet was some white pepper, because I find that I really like white pepper. I think it's more traditionally an Asian ingredient, and I know that these aren't technically like an Asian dish at all, but it just feels right. It also won't make the cream cheese look peppery. I don't think that really matters, but I'm gonna go get that because I do love the flavor. All right, so I actually am needing a little bit of a Penzies run, but I think this is about a 1/4 teaspoon. Yeah, so we're gonna do a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. This stuff is pretty strong, so that should be enough. Mix this up again. Well, all right, so let's talk about our variants. We have the crab meat, and we have 2 kinds that I'm testing. The first one is this jumbo lump crab meat. This is kind of middle of the road. This was in the cold section of the seafood market. It's not the type that's in the dry goods shelves, so this is cold. I think it's a little bit better than that stuff that is in the aisles, but it is a little bit pricey. This was like $14.99 for 6 ounces, which when you're talking about crab, you expect to pay a little bit of money. So we're gonna try this. And this is pretty much what I used last year, and I didn't love the texture. And I think maybe it's because I didn't drain it super well. So we're gonna make sure we drain this very, very well before we use it to help make sure that the dip isn't super runny. And the other thing we're gonna try here is the fake crab with a K. So this stuff, you know, is not crab at all. It's some mix of fish that they kind of press together into kind of like a cake-like texture. I actually love this stuff. I think it's really tasty as a snack or just like a crab salad sandwich. It's something I kind of grew up on, but I really love this, and it's very inexpensive. So this was $14.99 for 8 ounces, and I believe this was $3.99 for a pound. And I think normally when you're getting crab Rangoon, you're getting this. And so maybe that's why last year when I used this fancier stuff, I kind of missed that fake crab with a K. So we're gonna try that. So that's our first variant, is which kind of crab. So we're gonna split this up into a couple of bowls and add our crab variants. All right, so we're into this, and I think I'm gonna separate this a little bit, like tear it apart, but keep some big chunks in. We're gonna I'm gonna eyeball the ratio and see how many ounces that ends up being to see how much we should use. Now, sometimes I feel like when you get crab Rangoon, it's like almost all cream cheese and no crab. So we wanna go pretty crabby here. And this stuff is pretty dry, so I don't have to worry about draining it or anything. It is a pretty nice texture, so I don't think it's gonna sog out our dip. All right, you know what? We're gonna go equal parts weight for the cream cheese. So we had 8 ounces of cream cheese total. We had about 4 ounces in here, so we're gonna go out with 4 ounces of crab meat. All right, so that's our 4 ounces. And then we're gonna mix this up. All right, now I have these little individual crocks that we're gonna use for our recipe testing bowls, because these are gonna go in the oven, and I wanted to make sure that I had a bowl that went in the oven. And I use these for when I make like individual chicken pot pies or shepherd's pie. All right. Let's clean up the top. And I really want to pack it in there because we are going to put a little bit of a topping on it. That is our second variant we're testing. And we'll get to that in a minute. Crab with a K variant ready to go. I'm going to put it on this baking pan that I have here. I have my oven at 375 ready to go. And now we're going to do this canned crab. All right, so we're going to try to drain this as well as possible. And we're also going to use 4 ounces of this so that we're on the same page as the crab with a K. So to drain it really well, I'm just going to use the sieve into this bowl I've already used. It's a mess. It's a disaster. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and put this in here. And we're just gonna kind of pat it down. This one actually doesn't look like it has a lot of liquid, so maybe I bought something. There's about 3 different kinds of this canned crab that I've seen, and it's all a little bit of a different part of the crab. This is kind of in the middle of being the most premium and kind of just like the dregs. But this one does not seem to have a lot of liquid in it. I got a little bit out there. So we're going to weigh out the 4 ounces. Okay, that's 4 ounces. We got a little left over for chef snack. And then let's mix this together. Now I didn't add any salt to this because I added that fish sauce and the crab is pretty salty itself. So, and the cream cheese has got some salt. All right, I didn't want to break up the chunks too much. So there are some bigger pieces and then some shredded. So I think that's good. Let's get our second little crock going here. All right, this looks good. Now I'm gonna do a little cleanup because it's getting a little out of control here. And then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna show you the topping variant and what we're gonna test there. All right, we're back. I've cleaned up. It's a little bit more zen over here right now, which is great for me. And we are going to get started on our topping variant. Now, when you get crab rangoon, half the fun of eating crab rangoon is dunking it into that sweet duck sauce or sweet and sour sauce that you get from the Chinese restaurant. So to approximate that, I'm actually gonna go ahead and use some apricot preserves and some sambal, which I love, to give it a little bit of a spicy sweet vibe. This is super rich, so I think the spice will help with sort of offsetting that rich cheesy goodness. So the variant here is when to add the topping. I can't decide if I should just put it on and let it go the entire time that the dip's going, or should I let the dip get nice and cooked and bubbly and then add this at the last 5 minutes or so that this gets a little bit soft. Not sure which one will work better, so we're gonna do one where we put the topping on right when it goes in the oven, and then the other one when there's about 5 minutes left to cook. So let's get started on that. This is a 12-ounce container, so I think we're just gonna go ahead and use about half of it, and the spoon is too big. Let's see what I got over here. This little guy will work. So we're gonna go ahead and do about 6 ounces. That'll be about 3 ounces each on each of our dips. Perfect. And then we are going to add some sambal, and I'm really gonna eyeball this. I think maybe a tablespoon or so. So we're gonna eyeball about a tablespoon, I think. Now, you could probably go more depending upon your spice tolerance. So, you know, when you make this, give it a taste and see what you like. But I know just from eyeballing it, I know this looks like about right for me. So that was super easy. And what I like about this sambal, it just has a lot of flavor. It's chili, garlic, you know, it's got salt, chili, garlic. It's got a lot, it adds a lot with just one ingredient, and I love ingredients like that. All right, so let us top our crab with a K variant. With half of this. A little bit more. Okay, so that's ready to go. I'm gonna put this back on my sheet tray, and it's really good to use a sheet tray with this because in case this does bubble over and make a mess, you got something to catch it. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in, and I think this is gonna take about 15 minutes. I'm gonna check it at about the 10-minute mark to see where we are, to see if we wanna put our topping on the real crab version. We're gonna get this going. But before we do that, I just wanna talk about one more thing that I'm gonna do, which is fry up some of these wonton wrappers. So I've got my wok going with oil, and I really like frying in a wok because the wok is really deep. You don't need to add as much oil, and it kind of protects you a little bit more with those sides. So I got my wok heating up some oil, so I'm gonna fry up some of these wontons to use as our chips. I think that if you don't want to fry wontons, it will probably be tasty with tortilla chips or pita chips, or even just like crostini. But I do love a fried wonton, so we're gonna go ahead and do it. So I'm gonna get these in the oven, fry the wontons, and I will see you back in a few. Okay, so now to fry those wontons. Heat your neutral oil to 350 to 365 and fry about 3 to 4 wontons at a time. Fry them flipping often until they reach a pale golden color. These wontons will get a shade or two darker once they're out of the oil, so take them out of the oil when they're looking just lighter than you want. Move the wontons to a paper towel to drain excess oil and give them a good pinch of salt. And there you have perfect, crispy, delicious wonton chips. All right, we are back. I fried up these lovely wontons. Oh, they look so good. Seriously, don't sleep on these. This is so easy to do, and these wontons could be great for any number of dips. If you want to make like a little like crab and avocado like bite, or tuna tartare or tuna poke, these would be great on. So this is a really good little trick to do. These are so easy. But I zagged a little bit on our variants. As I was watching these cooked for about 25 minutes, and they're brown and bubbly and like cooked warm. You can tell because of the bubbling. I noticed that this one, where we put the topping on at the beginning, was looking really good. And my fear, and the reason I wanted to test this variant, is I was afraid this was gonna like get too caramelized and burn a little bit because of all the sugar on the jam. But that didn't do that in the 25 minutes at 375. So I thought, a better variant might be to see what would happen if we spoon this on kind of room temperature, to see if there's a nice texture, a nice sensation that you get when you have kind of like a cool jam, cool stream jam with the hot crab rangoon dip, which would be more like what you would get when you order crab rangoon. You know, you get those like bubbling hot crab rangoon that almost burn your mouth, and you dip it into kind of the cool sauce. So that's what we're gonna do here. We're just gonna spoon this over the top of our real crab variant. And then we get to tasting and seeing which one I like the best. All right, in we go. First, let's start with the crab with a K. It is a little gooey. You kind of see this like cheese pull that we get, which is really nice. It definitely looks less runny than the one that I made last year. Oops. Okay. That is it to me. Like, honestly, I'm gonna taste this one. I'm sure it'll be good too, but this one, crab rangoon, like the crispy wonton, the faux duck sauce, the creamy fake crab. Oh, it's so good. But we're gonna turn this around. Try this real crab dip. You know, that's good too. All right, we're gonna do another head-to-head taste. A little bit more. All right, they're both good. Honestly, I think these are both delicious. I like them both. I think the thing with canned crab, though, the canned crab that I use in this real crab, you have to be really careful with the canned crab you get, because I do think that the last time I bought was a different brand, and it tasted fishier, more like, I don't know. Sometimes if you get canned crab, it tastes a little bit fishy. I like fish flavor, and so when I'm saying it's fishy, it's not a great thing. But with this canned crab, it's not fishy at all. It just tastes really great and kind of sweet and salty and fresh. So I would say both variants work really good. I didn't really notice a difference actually with the cool jam versus the hot jam. And I like the way that this hot jam looks. So I'm gonna say do the hot jam. Plus saying hot jam is kind of fun to say. I don't know. But I think you could use whatever crab you like, as long as it is not too wet, so dry it well, and it has a nice sweet flavor. And I think that's what you get with this like crab with a K, is it's just like very sweet. It's got that sweet flavor, and it's not going to be too soggy just out of the package. I would probably make this again with the fake crab because it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot less expensive. And I think with all the flavors that you're getting with this kind of sweet and hot jam sauce and with all that cheese, like you don't need to spend the money on this $14.99 for 6 ounces of crab. If you want to do it because of a special occasion, it's going to taste great. So I like both, but I'm going to put my weight behind the fake crab variation. All right, everyone, as always, thank you so much for watching. Go to my blog to get the full recipe. I'll write down all the measurements from this recipe test. Let me know if you like this kind of content, which is just me playing around in my kitchen. And like and subscribe for more videos. Now go have some fun in your own kitchen.